Welcome in to another edition of Cali Talk Sports. I'm your host, Joe Cali. We've gone through the week officially now. The Commanders and Packers have played Thursday Night Football. Packers emerged victorious 27-18. Commanders look a little rough in their second outing, but we're here today to pick the rest of the Week 2 NFL slate. So thank you again for joining me on this edition of Cali Talk Sports. And if you're just tuning in, this is your first episode. As you can tell, I am a Bills fan just by, again, what I'm wearing and what's around me. I work in Buffalo sports media, but I am a big NFL fan in general. So excited to be doing something like this where we can talk about the broader workings of the league and what we're seeing around the NFL. And speaking of around the NFL, it's time now to go around the NFL and pick the games for week 2, give you a little bit of a breakdown on each of the teams and predict not a score necessarily, but predict the winner. We're going to start it off hot. Maybe. I don't know if you think that way. Giants versus Cowboys. Dallas, the run game looked great against the Eagles. Big part of the reason for that, Jalen Carter had a spit take in the first minute of the game, first play, before a play was even done, just after the kickoff. He ends up spitting, getting kicked out of the game, exposing a weakness for the Cowboys to take advantage of, and Javonte Williams really does take advantage of that. They run really well. The Giants look lifeless with Russell Wilson at quarterback. A lot of calls already to have Jackson Dart take over. So right now, I would have to pick the Cowboys to win this game, but if Russell Wilson wakes up, I guess I could see that going that way, but I don't really, see it. I don't really foresee that happening. So next game, though, a little more interesting. Steelers versus Seahawks. The Seahawks, in their opening game, Sam Darnold looked a little vintage Sam Darnold-ish. Didn't quite look like the player last year we saw in Minnesota. Maybe it's the coach change, who knows? And the Steelers, Aaron Rodgers looks good. He genuinely looks good. It is a little worrisome if you're in the AFC North, I would say, for sure, especially if you're Baltimore, if you're a Cincinnati looking for a playoff spot. They could make your record shake a little bit if you split a series with them in the divisional opponent category. So the Steelers look good. I think they have this game over the Seahawks. That's tomorrow at 1 o'clock p.m. But yeah, Aaron Rodgers, I think the Steelers are 2-0 to start the season. The Ravens looking out and even the Bengals too, if they drop their game. But they'll be looking out with the Steelers being 2-0. Next game, Rams versus Titans. Honestly, I think the Rams, with Puka Nacua being an absolute demon out there, he's getting checked for concussions, and he's playing through it. He's got blood coming down his face. He's playing through it. There's not a doubt in my mind that the Rams can win this game against Cam Ward and the shaky Tennessee Titans. There's just not a lot going for him right now. I feel like, the AFC South in general is just kind of a joke, but the Rams over the Texans, I could say wholeheartedly, I think that's what's going to end up happening. Bills, Jets. Bills come off of a crazy win, 41-40. We talked about that early in the week, just being the game of the week, pretty much. So we'll highlight probably the biggest game of the week every week. But the Bills take on the Jets now. The Jets gave the Steelers a run for their money with Justin Fields, Breece Hall. You're playing a bit of a dime store version of the Baltimore Ravens. So I don't really know what to expect. Do the Bills adjust, slow down the run game, slow down the pass? I think the Bills win this game. I don't think the Jets will be able to top the Bills in this matchup, but the Bills, I think, win this pretty handedly. I'm not saying the Jets aren't good. Right now, they're trending to be second place in the AFC East, but it's only after 1 week. They're trending to be up there with the Patriots not looking great and the Dolphins looking absolutely diabolical. Dolphins have nothing to go off of. There's nothing good. No good vibe out of Miami right now. Tyreek Hill going at reporters, all that stuff. I'm so excited to be a Bills fan and just a fan in the AFC East watching the Dolphins still just toil at the bottom. It's always something. So speaking of the Dolphins, we'll move to the next game, the Patriots at the Dolphins. If the Dolphins drop to the Patriots now, and the Patriots aren't great, they didn't look great in week 1, but if the Dolphins drop to the Patriots, they're in bad shape. That's 0-2. You play Buffalo on a short week on Thursday Night Football. There's potential for Mike McDaniel to be fired by 3 games into the season. So I think the Patriots win this game. I don't think the Dolphins have anything good going for them, and nor will they. So the Patriots win this one. I know they're not great, but I think Drake May and the team might settle into a rhythm at some point in the season, and the Dolphins are a team to do that against. For sure, you saw Daniel Jones look like Josh Allen playing the Dolphins. So, yeah, anyone can. Next game, Jaguars-Bengals. Jaguars, we saw put up a pretty impressive performance against the Carolina Panthers last week, and Bryce Young. But the Panthers looked like pre-benching Bryce Young last season. Looked like when Andy Dalton was on the squad and all of that. So it wasn't phenomenal by any means. It's kind of worrisome, I think, if you are a Panthers fan, because I was a Bryce Young believer coming into the season. I think they are going to be able to turn things around, but it's not a good start by any means. You look just like you did at the start of last year, and that's not good. But are the Jaguars really that good? Or did the Panthers just play very poorly? I don't know. So I think the Bengals here, they have an opportunity to go 2-0, something they haven't done to start the season in a long time. I do think they're built for it offensively. If the Jaguars do give them a problem and ETN's out there, you have Trevor Lawrence looking good, like Calvin Ridley turns it on, like things can go in very dire directions here for the Bengals. So I don't know if I could predict this one. If I had to pick, I think the Jaguars continue an impressive game last week and get everyone involved. But the Bengals, I think, struggled to beat the Browns last week. Struggled to beat the Browns. If you watch my tier list, we're going to do a tier list for week 2 as well once the season's up. But if you saw the tier list, it did not trend well for the Browns or the Bengals. So I'm not feeling good on the Bengals, so I got to take the Jaguars here. The next game, 49ers Saints, might be the absolute worst game of the week. It's absolutely disgusting. Brock Purdy's now out, and it's Spencer Rattler versus Mac Jones, and George Kittle is out as well. So just have to do this because it is absolutely gross. Gross. I do not like the thought of this game at all. That being said, Christian McCaffrey still is there. So this is where I worry about McCaffrey a little bit for you fantasy managers out there. McCaffrey being Purdy's out for multiple weeks, at least 4 on injured reserve. It's not necessarily the best feeling having to rely on somebody so injury prone and someone who already had a calf issue in the beginning of the season. But I'll take the Niners here with Christian McCaffrey. I just think they can get a little more going than the Saints can. Next game, Browns, Ravens. Tomorrow, 1 o'clock p.m. Then we're almost out of the 1 o'clock slate. One more game after that. Browns, Ravens. The Ravens tend to play down to the Cleveland Browns, and there's already trash talk going on with the Browns receiving core and the DBs and Derrick Henry, and they could tackle Derrick Henry. Jerry Jeudy's getting involved. This is a heated AFC North matchup. That being said, like I said, the Ravens play down to their competition. So I have a strong feeling here. Strong feeling. And yes, it is about feeling. It's any given Sunday. It's any given Sunday. I'll leave it at that. The Browns, I think, will beat the Ravens. The Ravens start the season 0-2. 0-1 in the division. The next game, final in the 1 o'clock slate, the Bears and Lions. Ben Johnson already getting a little chippy with the media. Not really liking how things are starting out in Chicago. And the Lions did not look good last week. One bit against the Packers. And they looked like a team that was missing all of their coordinators and many of their coaching staff. So not a great start for them. I think it's an opportunity to bounce back against the Bears, though, because we saw Caleb Williams on Monday night. You could not... Anything that was off script, he couldn't do. He just had to run. Throwing off script was not good. I just think it's a quarterback problem in Chicago right now. But the Lions, I think, get the job done and are 1-1 on the season, and they top Ben Johnson in their first meeting since his departure. To the 4:05 slate, the 4 o'clock slate. The Broncos Colts, the battle of the ponies. Peyton Manning's 2 former teams. If Daniel Jones can play the way he did against the Dolphins, the Broncos have a really good defense. But if Daniel Jones can play well and serviceable enough with Jonathan Taylor and those guys, I think it could work out pretty well in their favor. That being said, the Broncos defense is very, very good. And Bo Nix, though, I think you got to see if you're going to get the consistently inconsistent quarterback or if you're going to get the guy who made the playoffs in his opening season. So this is kind of a tough one to go. I would bet Danny Dimes can get the job done if he really... if they employ a same or similar game plan as last week, I think they do have a good chance. So the Colts, I think, are a good pick here, even though the Broncos, I think, are great on defense and their wide receiving core. But Bo Nix has to show up. And it's the same story with Daniel Jones. I'm strictly picking Daniel Jones and the Colts because I think it's the more interesting pick. And then on to the Panthers-Cardinals game. This game also, I think, has an opportunity to be like this. I think this is very warranted, if you will, at that point. But I don't think this game is going to be great. Bryce Young needs to really wake up, I think, from where he was in the week 1 in the Cardinals. Yeah, I just don't have all the faith in the world in either of these teams, and I don't really... this game is really one I would just stay away from if you're betting or if you're picking anything. But I had to pick a winner. I do think the Panthers can get it done. I think Bryce Young, I hopefully feel like Bryce Young can bounce back to what we saw at the end of last season, giving the Chiefs a run for their money. He just needs to settle down and chill out. And, Chuba Hubbard, I think they can get the job done here. Next up, the big match of the week, I would say, probably America's Game of the Week. It's at 4:25, so I assume that's on Fox for America's Game of the Week. But Chiefs-Eagles, I don't think the Chiefs win this game. The Chiefs start the season 0-2. After last week's performance versus the Eagles, the Eagles had the Cowboys entertaining for a while, but if Jalen Carter refrains from spitting on anybody, I think you have a good shot. But Eagles-Chiefs, they're not the same two teams. I don't think the same thing is going to work like it did in the Super Bowl last year, but also Kansas City's wide receiving core is battered. And you're going to lose you're down Rashee Rice, you're down Xavier Worthy. So it's just not the best, I would say. Not the best situation for them as of now, but I would take the Eagles in this. The Chiefs start the season 0-2. I feel very good about that pick. Next, we're on to the Sunday Night Football, Falcons-Vikings. Vikings stay in primetime for a little while now. Staying in the primetime spotlight. I think the Falcons gave the Bucs a run for their money, so I do think the Falcons win this game. I think they looked a little more impressive than the Vikings. Michael Penix Jr., I think, is really exciting to watch, and we're going to see what he's able to perform under the spotlight on Monday Night Football against J.J. McCarthy, same quarterback class of the Minnesota Vikings there. We'll see if he can bounce back, too. He just had a baby as well, so we'll see if his mind's in the right place. So, for a football game, per se. Next up, Monday Night Football. There's two Monday Night Football, 2-game split this week. Buccaneers at Texans. The Buccaneers have this game. The Texans look terrible on offense. They can't get anything going. So the Buccaneers with Baker Mayfield, they have, I think, a great team around him now to be able to at least make the playoffs and put quite a few wins together on the season. I like Baker Mayfield a lot. Igbuka also is very good. So listen, the Buccaneers are winning this game, I would say. In the next game, Chargers-Raiders, AFC West matchup. It's crazy because if the Chiefs lose, like I think, they'll be 0-2, and someone will be 2-0 in their own division between the Chargers and Raiders, and I think it's the Chargers. Geno Smith, Pete Carroll, Ashton Genty, sure. I think they are going to be a formidable opponent for the Chargers, but the Chargers play the way they did against the Chiefs last week, and Justin Herbert is a little more mobile. They're throwing the ball, maybe mix in the run a little bit. I think the Chargers have this game in the bag. So that's a 10 o'clock p.m. start, by the way, if you're on the East Coast. Very, 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 very late. So I don't know if I'll be watching that one, but that's the picks for the week right there. The picks of the week on Cali Talk Sports. On Monday and throughout the week, we'll have recaps, game recaps, the biggest game of the week. On Tuesday, we'll do the tier list. We'll re-rank teams, see where last week's was, and see who can move around, what we can do. But that's the picks for the week. So if you missed any, go back. I do want to get into more sports betting as the season goes on, as the week goes on, as this starts to catch some legs and more episodes comes out, and maybe some fantasy football as well. So let me know if you'd like that. Feel free to like and subscribe and leave a review on any podcast platform. You can get this on any podcast platform, whether you're listening on audio, video. Audio will be on Apple Podcasts. You can see video on Spotify or listen to audio, and YouTube will have the video. So thank you all for listening. I hope, let me know what you think about the picks as well. Comment down below. Do you agree? Do you think these teams are going to play the way they played last week, or do you think you could see a possible change in what to expect from any of them? So feel free to let me know. Be back next week after the week wraps up to do all of the breakdowns, the tier lists, and all that you can imagine right here on Cali Talk Sports.